Hello and welcome back to DukascopyTv. Joining me today is Jean-Claude Manini, Senior Economist for Europe for the Conference Board. Jean-Claude, thank you for joining me.
Good morning.
Okay, now I understand that the Conference Board is a research association which prides itself on working in the public trust. Could you explain to the viewers a little bit more about the kind of work that you do there?
Yeah, so basically a lot of people know us, especially within the financial sector, as the producer of the consumer confidence. But basically we are a club of multinational which sponsor research, a broad spectrum of research that includes macroeconomics and the production of indicators. So it provides us a kind of unique perspective in the sense that we have the possibility, unlike many other research organizations, to engage our member and really to test our scenarios, projections, either for the short term or the medium term. And I think that we like to stress too, and I think it's important because there are so many products available that people need to have a way to differentiate them. That's really, we are independent and non-partisan, meaning that we are independent for our member and we do not try to shape the policy debates or things like this. So we are really, independent researcher. We try to produce objective research.
The Conference Board's LEI for the Euro area fell for a third consecutive month in June as business market expectations fell sharply along with stock price indexes and also the economic sentiment index. Could you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's useful just to remind briefly what the leading economic index for the euro area is. Basically, that's an indicator which purpose is to provide the early signals of turning point in business cycle, or call it economic activity. That's a composite indicator, and the purpose is basically to try to summarize the news flow, because people are facing many different data, and it's often very challenging to try to get a feeling of what is going on, especially when economies are nearing turning points, because the news flow tend to be really noisy. So the purpose is really to try to summarize the signal and to provide a clue of the outlook. So basically, if I look at this indicator, it has weakened over 3 months now, and it has really weakens over a 6 months period now. So basically, it tells you that the euro area is unlikely to pick up in the short term, and actually there is a risk for the situation even to worsen before experiencing any recovery.
The report mentions that the current measure of activity remained the same in June for the euro area, but also that the negatives of the current indicators were more widespread than the strengths. What are the implications of these findings for the euro area?
Basically, I think the first thing to remember is that all our indicators are composite indicators, because the economy is by nature complex. It's a byproduct of the interaction of many sectors and many parts, being the real part of the economy or the financial part. So all those things have to be taken into account. Now, just looking at the interpretation of this outcome, basically tells you that the economy has weakened over 6 months. I think that would not have been surprised anybody, I guess, but that the pace of deterioration may have eased in the short term. So that's the key message. But the economy is still struggling, at least for the time being.
Today, seeing the release of the Europe Indicator Report, how are these faring when compared to the global or the US Indicator Report?
So basically, we have a global program of indicators which are basically built along the same lines, which allows for international comparison. So now, if we look to the leading economic indexes for the United States, which is really a flagship, some extent the father or even the grandfather of other indicators like the one for the euro area, basically it has behaved to some extent in the same way as the indicator for the euro area, in the sense that it has lost some momentum in recent months. So basically, you see that the economy is also to some extent slowing down, but at really different levels. So basically, in the case of US, we just speak about a slowdown in the economy. There are definitely no signal of contraction, even though the economy is expected to remain to grow at quite a subdued pace for the rest of the year. While in the case of the euro area, there is really a question mark. The economy has probably contracted during the second quarter. Indicators suggest it can continue to contract during the forthcoming quarters. So really, in different perspective on both economies in that respect.
What is your outlook for the euro area in the coming months and years, Jean-Claude?
it's probably interesting to step back. I mean, a few months ago, we had some hope that the economic activity in the euro area could recover, I mean, slightly during the second half of the year. But now, I mean, with the recent decline of the indicators, I mean, I think that such possibilities has really been ruled out. So the best can happen to the euro area would be to continue to contract at its current pace, which basically means that a lot of growth projections, including, for example, the growth projection of the IMF, are likely, I mean, to be still too optimistic, even though they already predict a contraction for the whole 2012. So clearly, I mean, a downside risk for the near-term outlook. And I think from a foreign exchange perspective, because this is probably what is interesting in your audience, it really means, I mean, this country means that, I mean, monetary policies is likely, I mean, to become more accommodative in the short term. So, I mean, it is likely to have an influence on the carry, which is, I mean, an important driving factor of foreign exchange rates in the short term, even though from a fundamental point of view, even, I mean, it's probably not a good indicators at all in terms of trading. The euro is now basically back towards what could be considered its fair value against the dollar. But still, the momentum is apparently, I mean, weak against, for the euro.
Jean-Claude, thank you very much for joining me and for sharing your insights today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that's all that we have time for at the moment, but there will be plenty more news and interviews from the Dukascopy TV team, so please stay tuned. But for now, goodbye.